But who have they played? This idiot put Ohio State at #1. Did you see this guy's top 10 poll? This guy put the Buckeyes at #1. This guy's top 10 poll. Ohio State. He put Ohio State at #1. He just loves Ohio State. I just had one question about that. But who have they played? Who have they played? He just loves Ohio State. Ain't played nobody. He just loves Ohio State. They ain't played nobody. He puts Ohio State at #1. This guy puts Ohio State at #1. Wait till they play a team with a real defense. Like Michigan State. Just one question though. Ohio State's gonna beat that sweet Jesus out of Michigan State. Who have they played? This guy had the Buckeyes at #1. I'm gonna talk about that game today and the rest of the games within the top 25 coming up right now. Talking about Ohio State was overrated. Woo. Ohio State, look at Ohio State already has some losses. Woo, they so overrated in that.
We about to turn it on.
Yeah, good morning, and it's Uncle Lou here. Yeah, that's right, it's me, Uncle Lou, and I'm live for you on LouTube today. Thanks for watching. Man, I sure do appreciate it also. And two, pay no attention to all the Georgia stuff behind me. I am a closet suck nut fan. Anyway, we're going to preview the top 25 today. I did the SEC yesterday, so there will be no SEC teams in this video. You have to click back to yesterday's video if you want to see my preview of the SEC. But today I'm going to do the rest of the teams that are in the top 25, give you a preview and a prediction against the spread. All the numbers I use, the over-unders, the lines, the point spreads, all that kind of stuff is going to come straight from betnow.eu, and they're accurate as of about 9 a.m. this morning. Make you some money on college football this year by signing up over on betnow.eu. There's a link in the description of this video and a promo code. It's Uncle Lou. That's one word, Uncle Lou. Use that promo code when you get signed up over there, and they're going to give you a bonus on whatever you deposit. Make yourself some money. All right, here we go. We're going to do this the same way we always do it, right? They're going to go in chronological order. So we have a Friday game here coming up this week involving a ranked team, and that is Central Florida. They're ranked 18th after catching that L at Pitt, but they go on the road now to take on a pretty good Cincinnati team. This one comes on at 8 o'clock over on ESPN. Now, I do think Central Florida is a better team than Cincinnati. Central Florida is favored by 4, by the way. This is a Friday night game. You guys know how I feel about these weekday games when a ranked team has to travel on the road. I'm going to take Cincinnati in this game. I do think UCF is the better team, like I mentioned, and they may be looking for revenge after a tough loss last week, but I'm going to stick with my theory here. Give me Cincinnati at home to give UCF its second L. All right, moving on to some Saturday games now. Again, chronological order. So we're going to start with the noon games, work our way up through the primetime games. So if you're only interested in certain games here, skip around in the video. If you know your team plays at 3:30, skip around, find a 3:30. Not that hard. Like I said, most of the people in my comment section are geniuses, so you should be able to figure it out. But up first on Saturday, we've got number 6, Oklahoma, going on the road to take on the Fighting Les Miles, Kansas, 12 o'clock ABC. Oklahoma's a 32-point favorite. It could be 42. It could be 52. I'm going to take the Sooners here. Kansas is not a good team. They got a little bit too much hype early in the season. For that win they got on the road at Boston College, where somehow they managed to put up 48 points. They won't score 48 points in another game again this year. In fact, they might not score 48 points total the remainder of the year. I don't really understand it. Kansas fans, loud as hell in the comment section. I picked Kansas to go, I think, 2-10 in the preseason, winning 2 of their first 4 games, which were against nobodies. That's what they've done. They've won 2 of their first 4 games. But then people get mad at, oh, look at this guy who Kansas win 2. Get ready to eat your crow when Kansas wins 3 games instead of 2. Yeah, I don't understand. This won't be the third one, I can promise you that. Home field advantage? No. Oklahoma can score 32 points at will with their eyes closed in the first half. Will you be surprised if this game is 45-10 at halftime? Tell the truth. 32 points, that's less than 5 touchdowns. Best team in the Big 12 against arguably the worst. 32 points, not enough. Give me the Sooners. Lay those 32. Speaking of mismatches, what about Kent State on the road at number 18, Wisconsin, 12 o'clock on ESPNU. Wisconsin's a 36-point home favorite in this one, and they are on an absolute roll. I know they struggled a little bit last week on the road at Northwestern. I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt on that game because they came off of a big emotional win the week before over Michigan. Now, they blew Michigan out. It was no contest. It was never a game. But heading into that game, we had no way of really knowing that. And the point is, it was a big emotional game that Wisconsin put a lot of time, effort, and energy into. And when you see a team pick up a big win like that at home, oftentimes they do start out slow the following week. We saw Notre Dame do the same thing last week against Virginia after a big emotional loss the week before at Georgia. Started off slow against Virginia. We're trailing at halftime before turning it on in the second half and pulling away. So I'm not really holding it against Wisconsin that they quote unquote struggled on the road at Northwestern, finally winning that game. I think it was 24-15. I think this week they get back to the Wisconsin we've seen in every other game, which is beating everybody they play by 40, 50, and 60 points and giving up hardly any points at all. That's been the biggest surprise to me this year when I look at Wisconsin, has been their defense. It's been absolutely lights out this year. No question about it. Jonathan Taylor, no surprise. He's going to go for 2,000 again. The quarterback play been better than what they're used to. Cone, a definite replacement over Hornibrook. Kent State is a terrible team. I don't know who's in charge of the scheduling at Kent State, but they have scheduled an absolute brutal schedule for this year, and the hits just keep on coming here on the road at Wisconsin. I'm going to lay these 36 points. Speaking of teams that like to blow people out, how about Purdue on the road at number 12, Penn State, 12 o'clock on ESPN. Penn State's a 28-point favorite in this one, 4 touchdowns. Purdue, a 1-win team. That 1 win, Vandy. So that only counts as really half a win because Vandy is also a 1-win team, finally picking up their first W this past weekend over Northern Illinois. But Purdue is not a good team. They got to go on the road and play a red-hot Penn State team. I think Penn State is one of a couple of teams right now that are underrated in the AP and the coaches poll. I'm not upset or mad about it. You see this all the time. I think there's a couple of teams that are overrated because of things they've done the last couple of years. And I think there's teams that are underrated because of things they've done the last couple of years. Penn State hasn't really lived up to some of the expectations in Saquon Barkley's last year. A little disappointing. I think you saw that reflected in their preseason ranking, and I think that's why they're stuck at 12 here in this poll. Now, they're top 10 in my poll, and I think they deserve to be top 10. They have absolutely obliterated people this year with the exception of Pitt, which is an in-state rivalry game, so you sort of throw that one out a little bit, but they've just been running people over this year. Games haven't been close. Purdue's a terrible team. Penn State gets them at home. It's a noon game. That's the only thing that worries me a little. You see teams start off a little bit slow sometimes in a noon game, and 28 points is a lot. I think Purdue is just that bad, though, unless Rondale Moore has one of those games where, he looks like a video game character and just can't be stopped and ends up going for 3 touchdowns and 200 yards, which, let's be real, he could do it any time. I don't see Purdue covering the 28 points. I'm going to take the Nittany Lions at home here, hold my breath, and lay those 28 points. I actually think this is going to be a good game here. I know it's not going to get a lot of hype and attention and because of one of the teams that's involved, and people are just tired of hearing about them. But number 14, Iowa, goes on the road to play number 19, Michigan, 12 o'clock on Fox. If you get Fox, about half the country is on strike from Fox or whatever it is with those cable disputes. I don't know. Well, I do know. I just don't feel like explaining it. What? Just get back to the preview. Okay. Iowa, number 14, on the road, 19, Michigan. Michigan's a 3.5-point favorite. This one comes on 12 o'clock on Fox. Michigan, huge win last week. What happened the week before against Wisconsin, though? Blowed out like they weren't there. I went back and forth on this one. I'm going to be honest with you because I think Michigan is a similar team this year to what we saw last year. I think Michigan's going to beat a lot of teams. But then I think when they play the good teams, they're going to struggle and lose. The part I'm struggling with here is Iowa one of those good teams? We know Wisconsin is. We know Ohio State is. I would argue Penn State is. I wouldn't dream of picking Michigan in any of those 3 games. I don't care where they're played. This one was a little tricky, though. And I went back and forth on this one. But you know what I'm going to do? Michigan has let me down one too many times. I'm not falling for it anymore. I'd rather, if I'm going to be wrong picking a Michigan game from now on, I'm going to be wrong because I picked against them, not wrong because I picked them to win. Give me Iowa and those 3.5 points. Could this be a good game? Number 21, Oklahoma State on the road at Texas Tech, 12 o'clock, FS1. Oklahoma State's a 10-point favorite. Could this be a good game? No. Texas Tech is terrible. They're 2-2, but no wins against Power 5 teams. They got blown out by Oklahoma last week. Oklahoma State, on the other hand, is sitting on just one loss, and it was a close loss to Texas. They've got a dangerous offense. I really like their running back, that Hubba Bubba Chubba Hubbard, whatever his name is. I don't know. It's on the road at Texas Tech. Who cares? No home field advantage there. Doubt the game will even be sold out, especially since it's at noon. I'm going to take the road team to win by more than a 10-point. Oklahoma State win this game by, what 31-10? 38-17, whatever, doesn't matter. Give me Oklahoma State, lay the points. Notre Dame doesn't need a 13th game. They don't need to be in a conference. They don't need to play a conference championship game because they don't schedule FCS teams. They schedule only good appointments. Proof's in the pudding. This week, they're hosting Bowling Green. Amazing. 3:30 on NBC. Notre Dame's a 45.5-point favorite. Bowling Green must not be very good. Not sure why Notre Dame scheduled them. Well, they're not good. Lost your last 3 games, hadn't you? Yeah, pretty sure that you have 62-20, 35-7, 52-0 to Kansas State. Jesus Christ. Give me Notre Dame, I guess, lay to 45.5. How about Texas on the road at West Virginia? You looking for any upsets this week? This is a potential one. Why? Well, Texas got to travel a long way. This is the longest trip within the Big 12 Conference, right? Austin, Texas to Morgantown, West Virginia. Long way to go. Cross time zones even in 2. And also, in addition to that as well, but Texas is a 10.5-point road favorite. I think Texas is 10 points better than West Virginia. Problem is, at West Virginia, and I do think West Virginia has a pretty decent home field advantage when they're not busy burning their own furniture out front of their trailer. But here's my issue with this game here. Texas plays Oklahoma next week. Classic trap game right here. West Virginia, not a very good team, especially compared to what we saw last year, although they do have a surprising win or two this year. I must admit, they're a little bit better than I thought they would be. I'm going to take West Virginia in the 10.5 points in this game. I won't be surprised if Texas wins. I just think this is a classic trap situation here for Texas. They had a week off. How much time did they spend preparing for Oklahoma instead of West Virginia in the off week? I don't know. Probably not much. Oklahoma runs the same offense. It's not really a need to brush up on them. You know what they're going to do. But what the hell? Give me the Mountaineers and the 10.5 points and 2. All right, game of the day, without question. Number 25, Michigan State on the road at number 4, Ohio State, 7:30 ABC. Ohio State's a 19-point favorite in this one. I'm taking Ohio State and laying the 19. Ohio State is the most impressive team, top to bottom, in all of college football, period. Argue with me, I really don't care. For the last 2 or 3 years, half the comments I get every time I mention Ohio State are telling me all I do is hate on Ohio State. Now, this year, half the comments I get anytime I mention Ohio State are, oh my God, this guy is the biggest Ohio State nut rider I've ever seen. Watch some football. Ohio State has 0 weaknesses, okay? They're the only team in America that's top 10 in total offense and total defense. They're the only team in America that's top 5 in scoring offense and top 5 in scoring defense. They do everything at an elite level. Justin Fields couldn't have got off to a better start. With 23 touchdowns, no interceptions, 70% completion percentage. He got 12 or 1,300 yards total, something like that already, on pace to break some single-season NCAA touchdown records. It's just been unbelievable. I know who have they played thing. Well, they played, of course, they played Nebraska, boat raced them in Lincoln. They played Indiana. You said, what, Indiana? Yeah, Indiana. They've got the 36th ranked defense. Indiana does. Notre Dame's got the 60th ranked defense. Georgia scored 23 on Notre Dame. Ohio State scored, I think, 60 on Indiana. So I understand they haven't played any top 10 teams. I get that. But it's not like they're beating these teams by 2 or 3 touchdowns. They're beating them by 50 and 60 points a week. I'm just saying, if you haven't watched an Ohio State game, then your opinion is doo-doo. You have to watch them play. You can't just look at the box score and go, oh, they beat Nebraska and Indiana and Miami of Ohio and Cincinnati. That doesn't impress me. What's the combined score of those 4 games? 250 to 40 or something? It's just ridiculous. They've got the best player in college football, in my opinion, and what's his name? Chase Young on defense. I think he's the best player regardless of position probably in all of college football. J.K. Dobbins could take it to the house every time he touches the ball. They've got NFL wide receivers. Justin Fields is on fire. They're loaded on defense at all 3 levels. People keep waiting on Ohio State to drop that head-scratching game to an inferior team like they've done the last couple of years. But, I mean, I don't know if you remember or even watched those games. Those were defensive issues. The Ohio State defense that's stepping onto the field this year ain't that Ohio State defense. Jack, I'm just here to tell you, Ohio State is a legitimate team. And if you're a contender and you're looking past Ohio State, you're an idiot. That's all I can tell you. You're an idiot. Ohio State is a dangerous team this year. I've got them at number 1 in my poll. They're number 4 here in the AP or the coaches or whatever. This one comes on 7:30 on ABC. Michigan State does have a good defense, but their offense is non-existent. It was non-existent last year. They blamed it on injuries. I bought in. I said, oh, okay, yeah. And they did have a ton of injuries last year, and I was high on Michigan State heading into this season. I said, well, defense probably be just as good as it was last year, which it has been. And the offense should be a lot better getting all those injured players back. Quarterback, running back, wide receiver, all injured last year, all back this year. The offense has just been a no-show. It's at home for Ohio State. Ohio State could win this game by 40 points. I don't think Ohio State's going to have trouble scoring on Michigan State. I don't. I do agree Michigan State's got a good defense, but I think Ohio State is just too loaded, too many weapons. What are you going to do? You focus on Justin Fields, Dobbins is going to get you. You focus on Dobbins, Justin Fields gets you with his arm. You can't really double any of their wide receivers because you have to use a spy on Justin Fields. It's just, I don't know. I have a feeling Ohio State's going to roll here. 19 points is pretty high. I did find one person that's so stupid. He hates Justin Fields so much. He's so ate up with butthurt. He's a Georgia fan, and he just can't stand his life and how pitiful it is, given the fact that Justin Fields is just on fire. He can't stand it. So this human potato actually bet me $100 at 7 points. Okay, it's a 19-point spread. I've got Ohio State -7 against that potato, so I'll be cashing that check. What time's this game? 7:30? Yeah, he'll be PayPaling me around 10:30 or 11 without a problem. I hope, or I'll have to send my knee breakers after him, and I don't want to have to do that. But give me Ohio State late in 19. Tulsa on the road at SMU, another underrated team. You know, you see the name SMU or whatever, and you really don't look twice, just sort of brush it off. They're undefeated at 5-0, right? Wins over TCU. That's a pretty good win. Win over South Florida. Not very impressive there. But again, 5-0, you only can play the teams that are on your schedule. They're going to be undefeated when they go on the road and play Memphis, I think, on November 2nd. And that's going to be a hell of a game. Those are two of the best group of 5 teams this year right there. SMU, Memphis, throw Boise State in there, UCF if you want. Those are all pretty good teams there. I think SMU is going to roll. They're a 13-point home favorite against a Tulsa team that's not any good. I can get SMU at home against Tulsa for under 2 touchdowns. I'm all over that. Give me the Mustangs, late of 13. Pac-12 time must be getting late. 8 o'clock on Fox. Cal at number 13, Oregon. Oregon, of course, 3-1. Close loss to Auburn to start the year. Beat Stanford 21-6 last week. They host Cal, who's surprisingly 4-1. Their big win, of course, coming at home over Washington. No, I was on the road. It was in Washington. 20-19. Weird game with a weather delay, won by 1 point. The loss last week to Arizona State. I don't think Cal's a very good team. They were ranked 15th last week for no reason at all, just because they were the only undefeated Pac-12 team. It just made no sense. I talked about it last week. They promptly go out and lose. Now they're not ranked at all, which they shouldn't have been ranked last week either. I think Oregon's a better team here. 17.5, though. That's a lot of points to lay, I think, for a pretty good Cal team. Not on an Oregon's level. I understand that, but 17.5, a lot of points. I'm going to take the road underdog here. Give me Cal and the 17.5. Oregon will win, though. How about Washington at Stanford? This game looked good in the offseason. Not so much now. Stanford has been an abject disaster this year, getting blown out, absolutely obliterated on the road by Central Florida. Injuries have hurt them some this year. I'm still a buyer on Washington. I still think Washington has a legitimate shot to win the Pac-12. I don't know about making the playoffs because I don't know that a one-loss Pac-12 champion is going to make the playoffs no matter who they are. I'm willing to overlook that Washington loss to Cal because of sort of the way that game played out. It took 7-8 hours to play that game. It didn't end until 3-4 in the morning, something like that, because of the weather delays. They're a 16.5-point road favorite at Stanford. Again, similar to Cal and Oregon here. I think Washington is clearly a better team than Stanford. I think this line is a little bit too high. People are very down on Stanford for good reason. They've looked bad. Stanford's at home here. I'm going to count on Stanford. I'm a David Shaw fan. I'm going to count on Stanford to keep this game closer than the 16.5, although I still think Washington wins. But give me the tree and the 16.5. All right, last game, you got number 16, Boise State on the road at UNLV. Boise State's a 22-point favorite. UNLV, no one cares. Jerry Tarkanian, whatever the hell. No, is that something different? Doesn't matter. Give me Boise State. Late of 22.